Hello, everyone. My name is Dr. Matthew X. Joseph, and I am going to be walking you through how to get started with Twitter. Thank you for joining in on Fridays at 1 o'clock for our remote learning nugget, where we're trying to share strategies to help you as an educator, both during this time of remote learning and hopefully to continue learning as we continue to grow as educators. This week, I'm talking about how to stay connected, and it is so important during this time to stay connected. And for me, Twitter is definitely one of those avenues to stay connected with other educators and with your community and students. This tweet here from Lisa it really sums it up. I saw this and I've had a chance to connect with her and learn from her. And she wrote, one of the blessings of Twitter, it allows for connections with people, even though we're 1,000 miles apart. And I think that rings true because we could be in the next town over and we're still not able to connect because we are in our homes and we're not at school. So I want to share some strategies today to talk about how we can do that through utilizing Twitter and all the resources. And this was a quote that really struck me, is don't be afraid to tell your story, because this is a time that we might think, what do we have to share? But in fact, there's a lot to be shared during this time, and there's a lot to celebrate and keep spirits high as we continue to do education and learning from home. This really struck me. These were the top 10 websites, and I did this before, I searched back before COVID-19 to really show you that it's not just because of being at home, but here are the top 10 websites, both globally and in the United States. And look at how many are social media. 4 out of the top 10, so 40% are social media sites. So why are we not utilizing them? And I know we are to some capacity, but I want to continue to do that. And for those of you who are not, I want to show you the power of utilizing these skills. And the reason is because I really think it's an opportunity to strengthen communication within our community, with our families, and with other educators. It allows you to build a culture, especially during this time where we're not face-to-face, and have the opportunity to show the things that you're doing and share some of the celebrations that might be happening. I do want to touch on a few things, and I know there's a lot of social media platforms out there: Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, many others. These are just a few that I pointed out. Facebook is, as I'm guessing a lot of people watching this are either a part of or know of, it's more of the social aspects of putting out celebrations, family birthdays, where you went to dinners, acknowledgments, anniversaries, things like that. Instagram's a lot more around photos and photo sharing, capturing a time and place. And for Twitter, it's really a time for connecting with other professionals. And I think when you're on Twitter, that's the thing that I have seen. I have learned a lot. I've read articles. I've participated in Twitter chats. I've grown as an educator, and that's where I think Twitter stands out from the other social media platforms. And few of the other reasons is that we can share some of the things that are happening right now, even though we are not face-to-face with students. You can share some of the student work. You can share some of the ideas. You can seek out other teachers and school systems and maybe start to collaborate with other stories around the country. And you can share some recognitions that are happening. And I know you're like, well, what can we share during this time? Well, I'm going to point that out in a few minutes, but I wanted to talk about what Twitter is. It's a social networking, almost like a blog. You're allowed 280 characters, and your Twitter name is called your Twitter handle. Mine is at Matthew X Joseph is my Twitter handle, and I also have a work one at LPS_CIA. That's Leicester Public Schools, Curriculum, Instruction, and Assessment. People that you follow, meaning other educators or other folks that you follow, that you're interested in what they have to say, they're called your people that you follow, and people who follow you are called your followers. A couple other verbiage that you would like to know. Retweet means if somebody tweeted something, you like it, you want to retweet it, like sending it out to people that follow you because you liked it and thought others could benefit from it. A direct message is kind of like an email to you. So I touched upon, what do we share during this time at home? And that's one of the things I want to touch on, because there's a lot to celebrate. We could share student work. Sorry, my picture's covering that, but we could share student work for different things that students are doing, or if students say something that is exciting or you want to share, tweet that out. A student told me today they had a great time doing this activity. I think it'd be fabulous. For example, we have celebrations in the left. Amanda Banks celebrates the kids are at home. They're looking at these opportunities. The photo right in the middle is students outside. So this teacher, Miss Ryan, said, look at what's happening right now. Kids are still learning. In the bottom corner from Raina Friedman talks about student voice. This is actually a video, and kids can share some of the things they're doing. So there is a lot to share. Not only can we share, we can learn from other people. Michael Earnshaw is a principal, and he's sharing some messages to the community, and I think that's awesome. Christine Ravesi, she is an author and an educator as well. She's a high school assistant principal, and she was on a podcast and sharing some strategies so we can grow as well. And here's one of our teachers from Leicester, Kim Mason, who's awesome. And she just retweeted. You could see that's Nick Park tweeted this message. Miss Mason liked it. She retweeted and just was celebrating this message. And I think that is the power of what we can do now. Another thing you can do is plan your tweets. Sorry, again, the photo was over the words. But this tool called TweetDeck, you can actually plan your tweets, where if you look at the bottom photo, I typed a tweet and I could add a picture if I wanted. I could schedule it and it would go into the scheduled tweet, so I could have it go out whenever I wanted to. So that's another opportunity and resource for you. The other thing I wanted to say is make sure you're not over tweeting. That, especially if we're new to this platform, we don't need to drink from a fire hose and over tweet. So I'm going to get into some specifics here to help you out. One of the things I try to remember is talk about the 5 E's of Twitter. Are you engaging on Twitter? Are you exploring? Are you explaining something? Are you evaluating? Tool I go on sometimes and look at different products. Or are you elaborating on what somebody said? So when you look at this, and I know I went through a little bit quick, but I also included the presentation in the email to all of you. So how do we use Twitter? So I'm going to go through some basics. One, you set up your profile. You can add a picture, you add different things that you want people to know. So in mine, I have things that I do, where I'm an author, and a link to my website. You can add whatever you want. You can change it whenever you want. So your profile, when you hit edit profile, it goes to the right. It shows you can edit your profile. The main part in the middle, it's called a thread, similar to a Facebook thread it goes through, but that's where all the tweets are coming from, right from the thread. On the right side, you'll see a place to search. You'll see what's trending, and then you can see some recommendations for yourself as well. This is the main kind of screen, and this is a computer view. I know the phone view is a little bit different, where those icons on the left are actually going to be at the bottom of your phone. Some other details. So let's look at this picture. We're going to go, let's look at the two on the right first. It says, this is where you're tweeting, where it says what's happening. It actually doesn't say what's happening. You type in there and that goes away. And then that blue tweet would illuminate, and when you're ready, you can tweet it. Now, some of the icons on the left, the hashtag is you can search for different hashtags. Notifications, if somebody tweets at you by putting at Matthew X Joseph, it would come into my notifications. Messages, that little envelope is like an email, so someone direct emails you. You will also see the tweet icon on every screen. Now mine's blue. You can change in your settings the colors that you want. A couple other things to talk about. So I just did a little cutout of a tweet here. You type up at the top. You can tag somebody using the @ symbol. You can hashtag a few other things. You can add photos. So by that, the first icon on the bottom left is photos. You can add GIFs. You can add emojis. So about 60% away across, that circle shows you how many characters you have left, because you only have 280. And once you're all set, you hit that blue tweet, and the tweet goes out, goes back to the thread, and anyone who follows you, it comes on their thread. A few other things. You can actually create a poll in your tweets, or you can add 2 tweets at once. So if you had a question up at the top to your class or your community, you could hit the plus and you could actually add either a website or your answer as well. A few other things I wanted to point out. So this is just a tweet from SEL4VT. It just talks about a graphic that they liked for key active listening skills. It's kind of cool. So a few things you can do from somebody else's tweet. One, you can add a comment. So if you hit that little thought bubble, this comment window appears. You see mine on the left. I could start typing my response and I would hit reply. You can also retweet. There's two ways to retweet. You can retweet, just take the whole tweet, send it out to your followers, or you can retweet with a comment. And when you select retweet with a comment, you see on the bottom far right picture, it says add a comment. So that person's tweet, SEL4BT, stays, and you can add some description above it so it goes out to your followers. I could type if I wanted to, these are fabulous listening skills. I could see where these would be useful in our schools or your classroom. Feel free to share, whatever you'd like to say. Now, talked about followers a lot. There's a few ways to follow. You can go right to that person's Twitter page. So this Scott Langford, I'm not following him. If I wanted to follow, which I am now, I would just click that follow button. Another way is if it's in your thread, if somebody retweets something, so I wouldn't see Scott's, but because Jean, you can see it over here, retweeted it, and I followed Jean, I see his tweet in her retweet. So I could actually rest my mouse on his name and a splash screen comes up and I can just hit follow that way. So why are we using Twitter? Why do I think you should use it? One, I think you can ask questions to other educators. When I was looking at different platforms, I asked, has anyone used Seesaw? And I probably got 100 responses. It was awesome to have some graphics. Jenny Long, Celie Clark, Kristen Brooks, Andy, a friend down in Texas, they all sent me things. Chris from New York actually jumped on a call with me. It was awesome. So I was able to ask questions. I can get feedback and say, what do you think of this idea? And people respond back to me. I can find resources. I can meet other educators and grow from them and participate in Twitter chats. Part 2 of this video is going to be about Twitter chats for those want to check that out. And I can continue to learn. I can also, as a teacher or a building leader, I can communicate to my families or community what's going on and happening. But always remember that you're representing your district. This is very public and the time of forgetting things has passed. So if you post something, just remember that it's a digital footprint of sorts. You can set in your privacy settings that your tweets are private. You can do that in the settings portion of Twitter. And don't be afraid to just jump in and start. I think it's a great opportunity. It's a great way to build your professional learning network. The video is covering up my handle, but as I shared before, it's at Matthew X Joseph. Feel free to jump in, feel free to follow, feel free to connect, DM me, and happy to answer questions. So thanks for joining in. Feel free to continue to join into the Remote Learning Nuggets as we share, learn, and grow as educators. As you saw, that's the next thing.